Hello, everybody. Am I live and loud? Sounds like it, thank you. My name is Sarah, and I'm the head of marketing at Peppy. I must admit to being in HR for 15 years before marketing. My background was employee benefits and well-being before I came to the dark side of supply. I must say that REBA never invited me. Previously, I had to go to the dark side to get a position on this stage, and I'm not really even here to talk. I'm here to interview this wonderful man, Eric Humphrey, who is our VP of let me get this right. I want to say reward and development, but it's research and development. And we're here to talk about AI. And the big question, I think, in the room really is, will AI take our jobs? And we're going to pick that apart for you today. So Eric is an absolute expert in this space. He has a PhD in AI. He came to us from Spotify. He has actually interrupted his holiday, his family holiday, to be here today. He flew in from
Cork, Ireland.
Cork this morning, leaving his lovely family behind. Elvis and Gwen, his little ones. So he's a really special guest today. It's my pleasure to ask you some questions.
Let's get to it.
So, Eric, the big question is AI going to take over the world? Is it the end of humanity?
It's a big question. I'm going to go with no. Let's go with no.
No.
No, I mean, the arc of the future is long, right? I was doing the math while I was sitting here, and I think it's been 14 years we've had smartphones.
Okay.
So I don't know what's going to happen in the next 14 years. Maybe we'll be on Mars. Maybe we'll be growing a third set of teeth. I don't know. It's really hard to say what's going to happen in the future, but not tomorrow. So don't anyone book any flights to Cork. It's lovely right now, but we're all going to have our jobs for a bit.
Okay, so well, let's dive into that a little bit more. So I think we can probably all accept that AI is not going to take over the world. There's still a place for humanity, but when it comes to our jobs, that's a different thing. And we've seen leaps of technology before, and jobs have been lost. And I mean, I'm quite intrigued to know what your thoughts are around reward and benefits, HR. What impact is this massive leap of AI going to have upon us and our roles, the people in this room today?
Yeah, I mean, I think the preceding talk was actually a really great setup in a lot of respects for this kind of topic, because I think, I don't come from a rewards and benefit space. I come from technology and machine learning, right? But ultimately, well-being and rewards and compensation, it's fundamentally about human happiness and what inspires folks to do the best stuff and to be productive, and how do they feel valued and rewarded. And I think a lot of what we talk about and what we care about really is it's about human happiness. And I don't think a machine is any closer to understanding what makes us tick any more than we're going to overpopulate Mars, as Engineering is kind of infamously said. A lot of the work we do is about understanding our workforce. AI is fundamentally automation. It may make it easier. I think Chloe's just saying that there's a big effort, there's a big lift to do a lot of that work now. AI and similar tooling can help reduce that burden. If you had 5 hours back in a week, how would you help your workforce better? Or would you take that time back? I think if you think of it as scaling yourself less than being replaced, I think it's kind of puts you down that path.
Okay, so you're saying that if we as a community embrace AI, then what would it do for us? What are the low-level tasks or the automatable tasks?
So I mean, in self-driving cars, they talk about levels of automation, right? And L5 is the car that drives itself. And we think about really, when we say AI, we're talking about generative AI, a lot of the chatbot-y kind of things. A simpler version, maybe the L1, L2 of the Gen AI is autocorrect. How many people use autocorrect on their phones? Every day? Yeah. All the time? Can't live without it. So if you had a smarter autocorrect, would that speed up your emails? If you could dictate it and then it could proof it without you having to, oh no, I didn't say it like that because of my accent or something like that. Could you dictate more of your emails into your phone and not have to worry about some weird spelling mistakes or whatnot? So I think that's an instance of even just basic productivity hacks by using a smarter autocorrect to get that much further. other things, it's fantastic at synthesis. If you're doing research and you're trying to understand different products in a space, or, oh, can you help me understand the differences between these two PDFs? Yeah. Or pick any kind of really complex blob of information or data. You now have a new hammer to hit that data with.
Okay, that makes sense. And what insights can you give us in terms of the AI that's available now and usable for the people in this room? So what opportunities are there to create that space and that time to...
Yeah, so I think one of the things that's been discussed earlier in this room today is the idea of personalization. I think a lot of what's stopping us from championing well-being or benefits utilization with each employee in our workforce one-on-one is just time and scale, right? But if you could go to Sam in marketing versus Andrew in engineering and be able to tailor a message that would actually resonate with them to get them, involved in a step challenge, or maybe engage with their EAP, or talk to someone about their addiction concerns, like you could actually dial into those things in a way that you can't when you're just sending BCC everyone at mycompany.com and you're sending a bulk email. Similarly, like, anyone else wearing size 42 shoes in the audience? Just me? Like, personalization is really important. Like, one size fits all doesn't really carry the day. But with a lot of, I won't name particular names, but there are a lot of generative text AI tools out there that can take you pretty far in helping tailor your message with the data you have on your people.
Okay, I think we probably can name some other things that are helpful that people could be using today. Not us, but are there tools that you'd recommend?
Sure. I mean, OpenAI's ChatGPT is one of the most famous ones, but there are an increasing broader space of things. Google has, what is it now, Gemini? Anthropic has solutions. There's more coming up around the corner all the time. I think in terms of starting to get familiar with these things, I think there are a few ways to think about it. Like, you could say, going back to that thing I said earlier about what would you do with 5 hours a week, like, what are the monotonous, boring, mundane things you have to do in the course of your week? Jot them down for 7 days, whatever. Keep tabs. Where are you spending your time? And you're like, oh, I have to do this again. Those are just ripe for automation. So I think one is you can't improve what you don't track. So if you can figure out where you're spending time on things that you don't necessarily want to spend your time, what would you throw an intern at?
What would you throw an intern at?
Yeah.
What would you throw at an intern? I just throw an intern at it.
Yeah, I mean, you could flip it in either way. But I think one thing is just think about where you're spending your time. Another one that I would say is there's a lot of power in play. There's an image generator through OpenAI, DALL-E, that I've been playing with my 4-year-old. We just play this game of like, oh, what's the silliest thing you can think of? And you have just a toddler's imagination at your fingertips, and you just take turns. And you learn a lot about what it can and can't do and the kinds of mistakes that it makes today and how it changes. But it's an opportunity to both, one, play with it and explore and kind of develop an intuitive sense for what it can and can't do. And two, also just, it's really fun. Have you ever seen a mermaid dentist? Like, I have now. Sprinkle in an Easter bunny for fun. It gets pretty wild. But yeah, you can conjure these things, and you can actually parlay some of that into your workday.
Well, that's something that we did. Peppy, we've been really embracing AI for the best part of the last 18 months or so. And there was a reticence and a resistance, and I don't know what this is. And we just invited our colleagues to play, right? Didn't we? I think at one point we asked everybody to go and see what was in their fridge and then ask ChatGPT to write a recipe for it. And that was a really good way to start to change the culture around, okay, I can see what this does, and you play with it. And I think that sort of worked quite well for us to soften our approach. Well, we had a session, back in March time about AI, a REBA session, and a lot of the commentary coming out of that was that we don't really know what it is yet, we don't really know how to use it, and we're a bit scared of it. What advice can you give for people who are maybe still feeling in that space in this room?
Yeah, I mean, I think similar to what I was saying, like, playing with it goes a long way. I would start by saying a lot of what folks are excited about right now largely falls into this bucket of generative AI, so text generation. It's in that space of chatbots. It's a word generator. It's an interactive word generator, but it's ultimately just a word generator. There's no... It's a very, very, very impressive word generator, and I don't want to sound, dismissive of the, really fantastic leaps and bounds we've made in not a lot of time. But I think accepting it for what it is, kind of pushing through the hype a little bit, playing with it a bunch, I think that goes a really long way. Yeah, that's where I would start.
Okay, and then when you're looking to now, okay, I've played with it, I'm feeling a bit more confident, I want to start using this in my role. Yes, so the title here today is how is it going to save our jobs? So, there's some thinking there that embracing this early is going to give you some leverage for the long run. What would you start doing if you're a reward and benefits person? You talked about personalization earlier on. What kind of things can it be doing for you? Yeah,
I think the personal productivity hacks is a really great place to start because the risks are super low. An example might be if you work in spreadsheets or if you work with data. The other day I was like, I copy-pasted this thing out, but it's formatted wrong, and I would love to paste this back into a Google Sheet. Drop into ChatGPT. Here's a blob of text. Can you reformat this for me, please? And I was like, okay, here you go. And it got it 98% of the way. Otherwise, I would have sat there, delete this comma, delete this new line. Like, you can kind of... As you can pick these kind of simple starter tasks, you can start to imagine other kinds of ways where you might say, actually, you know what? I have to send 15 personal emails to my team. Here's some different data. I'm going to copy paste this in. I now know enough about how to kind of coerce it through prompts to kind of do the right thing. And now I can actually have it take the bulk of the work out of these personalized emails. And then I'll go back through and I'll edit it and make sure that it is actually appropriate for each of my teammates or whatnot. Editing is way easier than writing, so you can use it to get 60% of the way, you get the bones of a thing, and then you can kind of put your voice and tone on the top of it. It's funny, the team's watching now, but a thing I say often is that, like, even when it comes to software development, like, thinking is hard, typing is easy. So if you can take a lot of the typing effort out and focus on the thinking, the you part, a lot of the AI stuff kind of becomes that Iron Man suit, that you're still that beating heart in the middle, that you can, then you fly around and shoot lasers out of your hands. I don't know what you want to do in your spare time, but...
Any laser shooters in the room? One thing that I'm going to sort of reveal myself a little bit now, but one thing I've been using AI for myself in my team is kind of just getting it to write articles for me. So I give it a bunch of information on the topic and kind of ask it to pretty much do whatever I'd be asking my team for, as you said, whatever you'd give to an intern. And what comes back is pretty good. It's 60% of the way there, you just said, but it still then needs a bit of love, it needs a bit of heart, it needs your own personality put into it, or that of your organizational culture. And we've been talking, haven't we, around this isn't going to take away human creativity. That bit still needed. The soul is still going to be coming from you, but the grunt work is done can be done.
Yeah, I think what it really excels at, again, generative text AI in particular, is a lot of synthesis, a lot of templating, things like that. I would call it like functional writing, expressive, creative writing. It doesn't have the kind of that creative soul that we think of as being human intelligence. There are presumably different kinds of intelligences, but when we think about creative human expression, it's not firing on those cylinders yet.
Okay. I'm going to ask you a bit of a cruel question now, but if we're people, by the nature of being in HR, I'm saying I know I'm in marketing now, but I still feel like I'm HR in the heart of it. So we're people, and if we're introducing a bot, a chat bot, that feels potentially a little bit disingenuous if we're putting, that at the front. What would you say about that argument?
I mean, I see this as a technology builder. I think it's if you put the cardboard cutout and then you're not behind it, then that's maybe disingenuous. But if you're using it as an extension of you, it's no more disingenuous than sending an email instead of a call. You kind of have to pick the right communication medium and the way in which you arrive at that message to fit your people in the time. sometimes the right thing to do is get on the phone and say, hey, can we have a talk? Instead of sending that Slack message or that Teams message or whatever your chat platform of choice is, right? So I think ultimately what matters is the intent and the heart behind it.
So that bit's still important. The human still matters, and that interaction, that
Yeah, I mean,
relationship still
otherwise,
matters.
as presenteeism in a different form, you're kind of offloading that to automation. But
Yeah, cool. Do we have any questions for Eric or I around AI and its application? I was watching the time there. I was doing exactly what you told me to, Catherine. Here they come.
So we have a couple. Please keep them coming,
Shall
because I'm
I-
not very good at this one. How do you manage the conflict between sensitive, confidential data and needing to provide data sets for automation, personalization, and so on? It's a very fine line.
yeah, and I think there's still a lot of work to be done here. That's the first thing I would say. It's an open and ongoing problem. You can use some of these things without optimizing or training. What's really changed the game is that you might say that it's a pre-trained or kind of already out of the box model ready to run. But you can go quite far without actually pumping new data into it. So optimizing, fine-tuning, these other kind of things, you don't necessarily need to start there. You can also interface with systems and keep that kind of bit in-house. So you can have a decoupling of systems.
What does that actually mean?
It might be something like you might use a very, very smart third-party service like an OpenAI.
Yeah.
And then what comes out of that then goes into another machine learning model that is entirely housed inside your organization, subject to privacy and data encryption and anonymization kind of concerns. So you can have multi-stage kind of bits. Where you
kind
manage,
of send it out clean and then bring it back in, and tie it all
or you
back.
send out only the bits that are not actually personal or not actually PII or other kinds of things. You can kind of split out your data so that only the right bits are going to the right places.
Okay. I think where we're seeing this, working well at the moment is when data is randomized and you're looking for big macro level trends rather than sort of personalized approaches.
Okay, thank you. So what's your favourite way to use AI in your day-to-day life?
Oh, it is 100% the image generation with my kids. It's really, really wild. It's super fun. We look forward to it. And it's replaced a lot of instead of can I watch this show, it's, can we play this silly ideas game? That's really fun.
I use it for thinking. If I've got this new problem, I'll just go straight to AI and say, okay, I'm thinking about this. Give me 10 points that could take this idea further, or give me 10 reasons why this wouldn't work. And it's really good at concentrating the mind, or just getting from that white sheet of paper stage to having something to build upon.
Okay. This is an interesting question and perhaps sort of relevant for those who have reservations about this. Is there a possibility of two AI tools talking to each other and making decisions on your behalf?
Technical possibility, yes, but it would have to be constructed in such a way for that to be a thing. It's not the kind of thing that's going to accidentally happen behind the scenes. There's a lot of anyone who's built software knows it's really hard to intentionally get systems to talk to each other. So that accidentally happening is not my top concern.
Okay. So is there a danger employees use and rely on AI to help them with important decisions like retirement decisions, financial decisions that maybe might not be appropriate?
There are always concerns that people will misuse the tools at their disposal, whether it's taking bad health advice from an influencer on TikTok or listening to a chatbot about X, Y, or Z. I think the thing that we need to do is create the right environments for people to be happy and to kind of give them the right information and help them make good decisions. So,
And I guess when you're using AI for your employees, there's always that caveat. Let them know you are using AI. If you're taking medical advice, that needs to be verified. Okay,
these are coming thick and fast.
Yeah.
I can't keep up with them. Okay, so have you got top 3 tips to get better prepared to utilise AI in the next few years?
So I think one benefit that might be good to consider is increased L&D budgets, staying out in front of and learning and finding time at work, having learning groups who are working together to learn tools. Hey, like we're trying these things, how are we using it together as a team, like Sarah mentioned for her own. Make space. I think one of the things that will help happiness is reducing anxiety, and one way to reduce anxiety is through learning and experience. So make time, engage with it, track your progress.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. We're out of time now, and let's have a round of applause. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.